Welcome back to the show, everybody. I am thrilled, and you're going to be really excited to have a look inside leadership in the hotel and casino arena, casino and gaming. So I'm super excited to have George Goldhoff on the show today. He is the president of Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City, and the former president and CEO of Pure Canadian Gaming. George, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kip. Good to be with you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, good. Well, super exciting. Yeah, we'll kind of get right into it. I mean, this is a totally different world, and I'm sure has a lot of unique characteristics to it, being in the hotel and casino gaming world. But maybe start with a little bit of your background, just your origin story, how you got into this space and into what you're doing now.
Sure. Well, I started in restaurants and I started dishwashing. I was a pot washer when I was 15 years old. And after doing that for about 6 months, the chef came to me and said, how would you like to learn how to, I think it was chop vegetables or something like that. And I said, sounds great. Sounds like it might be more interesting than, pot washing. I said, and I was working with a lot of friends there and it was a great environment. I really loved pot washing, quite frankly. And I said, well, why did you offer me this opportunity? He said, well, you keep your stainless steel area clean, you get along with your colleagues, and I really think you have the interests of the guests in mind when you're doing all of this stuff. And so that really stuck with me. And I thought those were three sort of values or principles that I still live by today. But anyway, I started in the restaurant business and then learned to cook and went on to culinary school at a local 2-year community college and realized after a really tough summer in the kitchen that and maybe I wanted to run a restaurant at one point. So I went on to 4-year school, went on to University of Massachusetts and moved away from my home for the first time in upstate New York.
Okay.
Went there and continued working all the way through school and worked internships in the summer and cooked in kitchens during school times and then started working for hotels and took some roles with Hyatt Hotel and in restaurants and front desk and that type of thing. And just really continued to grow my career, moved out west and continued with that. And then when I was about 25 years old, I really wanted to get back into the game more seriously. And I moved to New York and started working at the Plaza Hotel.
Wow.
Really beautiful, iconic, historic hotel right on Fifth Avenue and 59th Street, right on Army Plaza in New York.
Yeah.
I started there in the beverage department. And when I left about 2.5 years later, I was running all of the restaurants except for one. And I had met my wife there. And so that was amazing. And I left there and I was recruited to work at the Rainbow Room, which is 30 Rockefeller Plaza for your listeners that may not know that, right underneath the marquee that says the NBC Tonight Show and it has Rainbow. And again, super iconic, built by the Rockefellers in the 30s. And gorgeous restaurant. We would sell out 2 months in advance every single Friday and Saturday. So people's expectations were off the charts. Great entertainment lineup. And we had the highest check average in New York at the time too. So, and we were the highest grossing privately owned restaurant in the world at that time as well. So it was, again, one of these great New York iconic restaurants. And more than that, it was the folks that I created such dear relationships with. And I think that's one thing that has kept me in this business, how close you get with your colleagues when you're, in the midst of the
Uh-huh.
action and the fight every, delightfully there every Friday and Saturday and every other hour of the week and everything. So, privately, like I said, privately held. And I realized that if my name wasn't the same name as the owner, I probably wouldn't have a lot of upside, even though I enjoyed doing what I was doing. And at that point, married, had a child and one on the way,
Okay.
and I quit. And so I really hit the jackpot with Justina, and she's fully supported me going back to school to get my MBA. I applied to a couple schools, and I entered Columbia in 96. I think it was January of 96. And it was one of those programs where I knew I was going to stay in the same industry. So I didn't want to do an internship. So it was a 15-month on-site program. And I started in January, ended in May of 97.
Okay.
Uh, and, um, and again, great educational experience, made friends for life there, got some excellent training, and went on to do a couple of things over the course of the next about year after I left Columbia, but then ultimately in April of 90, I'm going to get this wrong, but 98, I think it was, I called an ex-colleague that was working in Las Vegas and took a role as the director of restaurants at Bellagio. It was about 8 months before it opened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah, what an amazing opportunity that was. Bellagio really created a model. Steve Wynn, Gamal Aziz, Elizabeth Blau, these sort of leaders in the casino and gaming space that created a model that essentially it was every developer and casino owner looks through the prism of that model now to create what is essentially the modern day casino world, which meant that bringing in partners and brands to
Okay.
create the food and beverage business, which was Le Cirque,
Huh.
Todd English's Olive, Jean Georges did the steakhouse, Michael Mina had Aqua, and there was a variety of other. And so assembling the team of just super talented managers, chefs, sommeliers, and working in that environment was like a master class. And you think you know what you're doing until you get into that space with all of these amazing talents. And so Bellagio stayed with uh, the Wynn organization. It was later bought by MGM, stayed with that sort of group for about 14 years. And then
Okay.
that took me to Pure Canadian Gaming and the opportunity to work with private equity, and one of the largest and most respected private equity groups in North America, running and responsible for 4 casinos in Western Canada. And I would say the interesting thing there is the ownership, or the funds there, they recognize that we weren't just operating a business, and there should be a commitment by management, and the management should be owners. And
Okay.
so I and the top management had to commit a significant portion of our personal net worth to have the roles that we did. And when we did that, we had a financial interest, we
Sure.
had skin in the game,
Huh.
and we could earn the rewards of entrepreneurship and also share the risk of ownership.
Huh.
So it was a totally sort of different um, feeling, having put your own investment and resources at risk. And so it was an amazing opportunity uh, there, and was there for about 8.5 years. And it
Yeah.
was really wonderful living in Canada. The Canadians are terrific
Uh-huh.
to work with. And I think in a lot of ways they have some things, they do it right. So,
Uh-huh.
and then for personal and professional reasons, moved back to the States. And I stayed in touch with some colleagues at Hard Rock, and they would call me occasionally. And the chief operating officer, who I've known socially for a long time, called and said, "I have this opportunity. Would you like to
Huh.
come back to the States?" And I said, "It's perfect timing, John. Sounds great." And so I've been with Hard Rock for about 5 years now.
Okay.
So that takes me up to modern day.
No, that's amazing. How about maybe mention we do a lot of work in my firm with private equity. So maybe talk a little bit about, being with Steve Wynn and his groups and now Hard Rock. But how is the private equity piece, other than putting your own capital at risk, how is that a different culture or feel, running a casino in that space or with private equity as ownership?
Yeah, it was so what I know about private equity is OnCap, and OnCap is
Okay.
the dedicated mid-market firm of Onyx. Onyx is the big game hunter,
Right.
and OnCap uh, invests in enterprises of up to maybe 5 or 600 million, and
Okay.
then yeah, Onyx is the big game hunter. So
Yeah.
you know they believed in a couple of things which made a lot of sense. One was they believe that the effectiveness of the management team is in inverse proportion to its size. So they believe
Interesting.
in lean and talented and scrappy, and identifying really great talent. And that is, quite frankly, uh, when I was interviewing, that caught my attention. And that was the same with Steve Wynn, and
Hmm.
quite frankly, the same with Hard Rock. It's really investing uh in talent. And I think that was one thing that's been consistent in ensuring that you associate yourself with great brands and great teams. And whether that's in education or business, whether it's private equity or publicly traded or privately owned, I think that is super important. It's been important to me. I think one of the overarching principles was always integrity as well.
Mm.
One of the first things that the managing partner said to me when during the first board meeting was, "Remember, we never build our company on the backs of our team members."
Mm.
And I'm like,
Huh.
I
Yes.
I picked the right company.
Yes.
And that is so important. And we have to hold ourselves and our team members to the highest ethical standards. But at the same time, we don't cut to the bone and do things that just aren't good in terms of the long view
Yeah.
for the company. And it was always about attracting and strengthening our bench and ensuring that we have the absolute best men and women, supporting and running the company and creating opportunities for others. And I would say the the biggest one that I've seen, and to a certain extent, this does exist. If this people in publicly traded companies get options and they get
Hmm.
RSUs, and they get compensated differently, but rewards matched performance.
Okay.
We were in total alignment because of the investment. And you had to meet individual objectives as well as team objectives, and you got rewarded in direct proportion with those achievements. And I mean, it was spelled out to the penny. And so those who didn't perform or live up to those ethical standards were encouraged to seek work elsewhere. And it wasn't sink or swim. There was a lot of support, and we treated each other extraordinarily collegially, but it came from a no kidding kind of place that
Uh-huh.
you were there to take care of the team, take care of each other, take care of the guests, and take care of the shareholders. And you couldn't let any one of those plates stop spinning. So, and the other thing that I really liked was the speed, which
Uh-huh.
was we were continually looking for ways to collapse time and make decisions quickly. And I think you have to be effective with your decision making too, but speed was very important in the Onyx culture. And then stretch.
Uh-huh.
We always had to stretch. We could never go backwards, and we used best practices and industry benchmarks to uh, aggressively budget. And what could we do next? And who should we be talking to? And, are we challenging the highest targets and that type of thing? And, quite frankly, let's dream the big dream. And if we
Uh-huh.
fall short, let's not get penalized, provided that we're doing the absolute best that we can. And I think that was our responsibility, to be fully committed to, again, our shareholders. And so I think some of those that I just mentioned that are truly ONCAP's principles are common threads in other companies that I had uh, been involved in as well, Kip.
Yeah, that's excellent. How about just kind of turning to leadership for you personally? What's been or how has your personal definition of leadership evolved over time and the different roles you've had?
Yeah. Uh, well, I would say, and I don't know when it started to sort of bleed over, but I would say it seems like there's two things that we generally do as a person in an organization. There's being and there's doing.
Okay.
And the doing part is, I think, what I wanted to be an expert in whatever I was doing. And so, there's analysis and there's scheduling and there's reports to read and there's things to make more effective and efficient and that kind of thing. And there's all this doing stuff, which is super important. You got to do things in an organization. And then there's being. And how do you, and that's a shift that I think some people might bring, that maturity to the organization at a younger age. It took me a while to figure some of that out, but it's how do you groom your mindset to show up to work, to lead people, to be an effective listener, to encourage, to partner, to support. Do you come in knowing that you're there to help solve problems?
Mm.
Um, and so I would say it was sort of a gradual shift, knowing that you still have to do things and you got to turn on your computer
Uh-huh.
every morning and read reports and gather information and analysis. And then how do you, have those direct reports that come to you? How are you acting as a coach and a leader? Because at a certain point, in these big organizations, you realize that you can't effectively individually have, like, I can't fix the hold percentage. I can't fix
Uh-huh.
occupancy. I can't fix the marketing plan alone. I have input. I have some background in that, but I am truly where I am and where I have been for the last 17 years, a generalist, a
Sure.
general manager, a president, a CEO that develops, hires, recruits the best, and then creates an environment where they can all thrive and do their best work.
Oh, very good. So what's any particular strategies, in the hospitality, hotel gaming world, for attracting and retaining like your high performance leaders? Anything unique to how you do that in your space?
Yeah. I would say there's two things, uh, two main things, because they're conceptual things. If I'm hiring, the vice president of some division, uh, I need to confirm and validate that they know their business, and they know what to do. But let's just take that aside and say that out of 10 applicants, we've whittled it down to 3, and they are experts at IT or marketing or operations or finance or something in their field. So there's a couple things. One is optimism.
Mm.
And
Huh.
if they are generally optimistic people, which is to say they approach their day and their world as a glass half full, I think they're more creative. People want to be around them. They
Yes.
can lead people. They can understand change. They can lead change. They can affect change in a positive way. So I think optimism is really important. Now, I'll throw a little bit of a caveat in there,
Uh-huh.
which is to say that if I hire a finance person,
Huh.
I want them to have a little bit of skepticism, because they're looking at they're looking at the books, and we got to make sure that they are great scorekeepers and they are very detailed and skeptical about, the actual work product, and all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. But I would say optimism is it has to be a part um, of our company's values and that kind of thing. And I think one of the other things is a curiosity, which is to
Mm.
say, are people curious, asking questions, trying to solve problems, and are they giving more than what is expected? And I think that too is infectious.
Yes.
And if you have that optimism and that curiosity, I think those combinations can lead to great things. And quite frankly, irrelevant that we're in the gaming space or the
Uh-huh.
hospitality space or the entertainment space or whatever we're calling ourselves these days. It could be making computer chips, you could be in manufacturing, you could be in finance, you could be in a lot of different um, industries. But I think those are two overarching principles that I would look for when I'm recruiting and hiring.
No, very, very good. How about anything you employ to ensure the ongoing growth and development of your people?
Yeah. Look, we are, at Hard Rock, and we're an award-winning company, and
Right.
part of that is because that we invest and develop people. We have a very favorable tuition reimbursement plan, which I
Okay.
use fully every year to try to ensure that we're innovative and cutting edge. As an example, I'm taking an AI, so it's sort of a helicopter course.
Yeah.
It's 8 weeks, it's 5 hours online every week. So it's, 40 hours. I'm not going to be an AI expert, but at least I'll understand it better
Yeah.
than I do now. But, we've been recognized by Forbes as the best large employer, the world's best employer, the best employer for women, for new graduates, for social impact. And in Atlantic City, we were rated the top workplace in 2024 by USA Today. I'm wearing my shirt. got some
Yeah,
share
I
in
see.
that.
That's great.
Um, and that was voted on by our team members. That wasn't that no, that was a survey that was our team members participated in it. And a big part of that, Kip, is that we do invest in our team. And we have we have a whole suite of um, in-house training. That some of it's regulatory and we need to do it every year. Most of it is development for our supervisors, for our managers, for our leaders, and for team members that want to move into supervision and that type of thing. So yeah, it's super important. I think every organization should be a learning organization, and again, irrelevant of the industry. And the more you're curious, you're optimistic, you're learning, you're excited about what you do, you have the passion. People work a lot of holidays, they work a
Mhm.
lot of weekends, they work long hours here in our industry.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not the industry of choice unless you have to be passionate about doing those kind of things.
Uh-huh.
And the training and the education that we're talking about now is a really important part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Hard Rock is such an iconic brand. And as you said, an award-winning brand. So congratulations with all that. But what is the culture and core values? Like what is Hard Rock? I mean, how would you
Yeah,
describe your culture? What are you aspiring to and where are you guys at? And what is the culture of this iconic brand that we know as Hard Rock?
it is the question.
Hmm.
It's a very important question. Right now I call it our set list. But our set list, we have over 300 um, cafes, hotels, and casinos in 70 different countries with $10 billion of revenues. We have 60,000 employees. We have over 140 million guest experiences annually. We serve over 10 million food covers every single year. And so the culture that you bring up is so important, because how do you expand? I mean, we have 6 integrated resorts in the pipeline. We have 50 hotels in the pipeline. We'll probably grow by about 25 cafes that are in the pipeline in 2025. So it's the question of how do you grow and maintain who you are when you're distributed across the world. And I would say 2 things. We were started in 1971, so about 53 years ago, by 2 hippies.
Yeah, I
That
know. Yeah. Incredible.
Peter Morton and Isaac Tigret, who went to London and they said, we're going to open up a Hard Rock Cafe. And uh, they got a lease, and the landlord would only give them 6 months, because he's like, these guys are never going to sell hamburgers in London. And here we are 53 years later, and that location is thriving still in Hyde Park,
Uh-huh.
London. And they created some mottos back in the day,
Mm.
which are, I call them universal truths that our company is built around, and which are, arguably more relevant than, maybe they were back then. But it's you've heard of some of them, maybe love all, serve all, which is
Uh-huh.
that we're very egalitarian. Anybody can come into our hotels, casinos, um, cafes, and that type of thing. And a little story about that. Uh, Eric Clapton, back in the 70s,
Huh.
used to come in and sit at this one bar stool. And he came in one day, and somebody was sitting at his bar stool, and he went to the owner. He went to Peter Morton. He said, "That's my bar stool." He goes, "I want my bar stool." He was like, "Listen, we serve everybody. We love all. We serve all."
Mm.
He goes, well, when I come in, how will somebody, he goes, tell you what, bring something that is beloved by you and we'll put it up. And so people will know. And so he brought in that white guitar and that
Huh.
was our first piece of memorabilia. And he hung it up above that
Wow.
bar stool. And we still have it in our memorabilia collection, which is
Huh.
the largest memorabilia collection, or music memorabilia collection in the face of the planet. And anyway, that's a little story about love all, serve all. And that was one of
Yes.
our mottos. Take time to be kind. How does that actualize, right? So their mottos, how do you live those daily kind of thing? Save the planet.
Huh.
November is Save the Planet, even though we have initiatives throughout every month of the year. How do we save the planet? They were talking about it in 1971. And again, more relevant now than maybe it ever has been. And love all, serve all, take time to be kind, save the planet, and all is one, which is we
Hmm.
treat each other with respect. And a lot of people, when I joined the WIN organization, it was called diversity, right? We
Uh-huh.
support each other, and having people that think in different and have different perspectives create a stronger environment where we can be more creative and
Uh-huh.
curious and that kind of thing. And so that really speaks to that aspect, which those are the four mottos that I would say I think most of, if not all of our team members know, appreciate,
Uh-huh.
recite, and live, I hope, every day. And it's my job for it to start with in my office and in my heart.
Yeah, that's amazing. Incredible how, as you said, two hippies started this whole thing, and their mottos are still guiding forces and core values of Hard Rock.
That's right.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's amazing how enduring those thoughts are, yeah, and still relevant.
Yeah. How, you hear a lot of, these days, and it's become a buzz term in some ways, but servant leadership.
Mm.
How is that a part of the culture for you and for Hard Rock?
Well, that's right. I mean, how do you take obstacles away out of people's way? How fast can I respond to my colleagues so they can do their job? What do they need in terms of capital so they can achieve their goals, which are our goals, which is part of the strategic plan? So that's really, I think, having read the book by Robert Greenleaf, who was that sort of
Huh.
first in the 1940s in-house instigator that was allowed to have this radical notion that the person at the top had to support or should or had the opportunity or got to support everybody in the organization. That was their role. And it is, even without calling it that, even if people don't know that term, I think organizations are more and more practicing that that servant that servant leadership, serving those who actually do the job, our men and women who take care of just massive amounts of people. I ran through some of the numbers here, but just I'm only responsible for Atlantic City, but we have 4 million square feet in our
Huh.
on 17 acres. We have 4,000 team members. We have 26 restaurants. We have 2,000 hotel rooms. We have 130 table games. We have 2,400 slot machines. We
Great.
have 10 retail outlets. We have 7,000 parking spots. We have gas station, and it goes on and on. And, how do we support them and how do they feel recognized, and more than recognized, celebrated?
Hmm.
Um, because they are truly amazing. I want to get inspired. Sometimes I'm in my office way too much. And Friday and Saturday is my time to be on the floor for 6, 10 hours a day. And it's so inspiring to see the work that's being done and talk to the team members and understand, what they need essentially. And we have, some other, I don't want to call it a program, but every year I bring a cross section of only team members and their supervisors together, about 16 at a time, and ask them questions. How do we improve revenues? How do we decrease expenses? How do we improve quality? And how do I make your job easier? And it takes about 2 hours, and we put up flip charts. And I think we had 40 of those 2-hour sessions in the beginning of the year. And by the time we're done, 3 weeks later, we have this book of like 600 ideas coming
Yeah.
from our employees, which are strategic, quite frankly. They're brilliant. How do you reduce a line? Because that's what the customers want.
Uh-huh.
It's fascinating what you can learn when you support others and, give them a platform to give you feedback. It's amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's amazing. How about challenges? What are some of the biggest challenges you faced while, whether it's at Hard Rock or your previous roles, just and how'd you overcome some of those challenges?
Mhm. Um, well, the obvious one is competition and disruption in the casino integrated resort business, whether it's been, urban or resort setting or regional or, Vegas or something like that. There's been a proliferation of gaming over the course of the last 20 plus years. A lot more jurisdictions have jumped into the fray. And so it's about differentiation to compete. And I like to term it sort of, how do you become a nicheaholic? How do
Uh-huh.
you create these little niche initiatives that you can build on until your competition catches up and they look over and they go, what are they doing? And then you realize that it's going to take them a couple of years to replicate what you've done, not because it's some silver bullet or grandiose idea, but it's all these little tiny niche ideas. Again, you get it from the team members. You find them in the strangest, funniest places, and again, you stay curious, and you can walk into a small local deli and you go, whoa, that's a really good idea. I think I can replicate that and implement it somewhere in your, larger business or
Uh-huh.
something. So I think competition is the challenge. And again, it's a team, it's a team environment. So we all have to play and differentiate and come to the table with ideas. And then I think the other one is, how does one stay innovative and cutting edge? And that's really working within and encouraging the team, whether it's, taking a formal course or listening to a podcast or reading a magazine or a book or going to lectures or talking to somebody that you normally wouldn't. How do marketers, which in marketing is moving at
Huh.
light speed, these, like, over the last 10 years, it's just like changed. Sometimes I can't keep up with it. And how do you stay innovative and cutting edge as a marketer,
Yeah.
or in technology, or something like that? And so it's when I say you, I mean me. How do I do that? And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
hopefully, if I can do that, that encourages and models others to do the same, but it's changing yourself to keep up, and then, you know, surveying, canvassing what's happening in the environment strategically, and addressing competition have certainly been two big challenges.
Yeah. How about, and maybe, I mean, dealing with your crew, doing those 2-hour sessions is part of this, but any strategies that have proven effective in identifying and then ultimately capitalizing on high growth opportunities?
Um, One thing that Hard Rock, and I will say that Steve Wynn and Hard Rock had done really well, and we're doing it well. Like I said, we're in growth mode. Is when we create a facility, we create it from the guest's perspective.
Mm.
And we could take a Hard Rock and put it in the middle of competition, and we will steal market share uh, and compete really fiercely because of what we put into our design, whether it's what we can see, feel, taste, hear, and smell, literally, whether
Huh.
it's felts, the chairs, the carpet, the lighting, the music. And how do you create that? We call it a vibe, but how do you create that vibe in different parts of the casino? And I would say that's a little bit of our secret sauce, where
Sure.
some competitors won't or don't invest in their facilities quite as much. And, you get this sort of, slot in the box, and that is what they offer, which is a convenience product to maybe a large population center, and they will do a certain amount of volume. But when
Mhm.
you put in an integrated resort with the right restaurants, and I always call it the if you have the right restaurants, and if you have the right entertainment, and if you have the right retail, and if you have the right hospitality product, and if you have the team members that are on board, and if you maybe even have the right golf courses, and if you have the
Uh-huh.
right swimming pools, then gaming works. But to build a casino without all of those non-gaming amenities, you just don't optimize. And so I would say that's been a part of our growth strategy. And I think we do it. I know we do it really well.
Yeah, it's incredible. How about any particular trends or opportunities that you see out there that you're most excited about?
Well, I really want to. I think I mentioned in a couple of weeks I'm going to start an AI, and I think there's something there, but I
Mhm.
don't know enough about it. And so we've been really diving into database analytics and learning about our customers. And the best way to learn about them is do, focus groups and be on the floor and have dinner with them, which we do all of those things.
Uh-huh.
But also uh, taking large data sets and trying to understand movement in those, and then create behaviors through offers and campaigns and events and giveaways and new products and that type of thing. I think we can get better and smarter with that. Um, and we've done okay with that, and we've made improvements. But I think that marketing is moving in that direction, and I hope that we can become better in that area.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. How about looking back, any particular decisions or actions that you have that you would say has been most, you know, pivotal or beneficial to your success?
Um, you know, I I've been really lucky
Uh-huh.
um, to have opportunities provided to me that um, that I've that I've been offered, and I've taken advantage of. So, I try not to look back, but I'm the type of person that I do like looking at history and trying to understand why there was a specific type of outcome and how I could, replicate that or learn from it while I'm looking forward. Um, I think I had some incredible mentors, and I think that has been uh, provided me with a faster learning pace, if you will. So I don't know if that answered exactly what you were getting at, Kip. Um, but surround yourself with don't be the smartest person in the room.
Mhm.
Surround yourself with people that really are that you can learn from, and accept different points of view for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really kind of leads into my next question, George. Any advice you would give to whether it's young or just aspiring entrepreneurs that are interested in, the hospitality space or the gaming space or the resort space? Any advice you'd give to folks that have a real passion and interest in that?
Um, I would say first of all, you can achieve anything you want to in this space. Uh, I'm a prime example of going to culinary school, right? I went to a 2-year school, and I just kept at it and be tenacious, give more than what is expected, show up, be curious, surround yourself. And if someone doesn't naturally come to you as a mentor, I think it's perfectly okay to approach someone that you respect and go, "Hey, I have some questions for you. Would it be okay if I ask you a question occasionally or time to time or something, so you could continuously learn, and then put yourself in the midst of great brands, whether that's
Mm,
educational brands or professional brands or anything like that, and work hard, and good things will come to you for sure.
yeah. How about, we talk a lot on this show about just our free market system and capitalism, but you might have a unique perspective as you showed that, I mean, Hard Rock is worldwide. I mean, the brand out there, but in what ways has embracing the free market system benefited your business model?
Yeah, it's interesting. Gaming, like I said, we have 300 locations. We only have like 16 casinos, but the casinos are still a the biggest part of our revenue stream, and they probably always will be. And so those entertainment dollars are typically, in terms of um, discretionary spending, probably one of the last dollars that somebody has, and the first to go. And so we really have to compete and earn it every single day. And it's a free market system in terms of casinos, but it's highly regulated.
Mhm.
So it is constrained to a certain point. They're not the states aren't issuing unlimited amount of licenses or something along those lines. But at the same time, my chip shot could hit our competitor
Uh-huh.
next door. And so, in terms of free market system, you can't be better than the next person. You have to be way better than the
Mhm.
next person. And you have to want it more, and you have to compete. And the way we do it is team member first. And our belief is that if we support our team members. They're the ones that are taking care of our guests. And if we create a better guest experience, then our guests are going to come back, and our market share has been growing, and our revenues have been growing, and our EBITDA margin, our effectiveness has been expanding. And we really believe that, that is it's not a secret, but it is the way that we approach business, and the beauty of the free market system, that people have other options to do that. We have competitors that are playing defense. I'm going to save every penny, and I'm going to take this away, and this will be better off, and it'll create value. I don't think it does in the long run. We have a long-term perspective, and we have the benefit, or, to be able to have the long-term perspective, because our owners, who are the Seminole tribe of Florida, and they think generationally. They don't think from quarter to quarter. And so we're in it for the long term, and we are going to compete in those ways with our mottos, with our team members, by learning, by being curious, by being innovative, and invest in those areas. And that is truly our choice. And if we were under a different system in a different country, and we were more highly regulated, we may not be able to do it that way. So we're proud to be able to take those types of initiatives and actualize them into a great business.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. All right. Yeah. So last question here, legacy. How are you working, or how do you think about building legacy through your ventures, whether it's personally or business wise? How are you thinking about legacy?
Yeah, look, I just want to leave the place better than when we had it. I don't really think much about legacy personally. I'm no good at golf, and I don't like fishing, so I'll probably never retire, Kip.
Yeah.
So so I'll just keep on plugging along, and hopefully do some more interesting projects, and be able to lead exceptional teams. And I've been really blessed and lucky to been able to do that most of my career. And hopefully, as I get older, people will still see the value in that, and allow me to continue to do it. So that is, I guess, my short and long-term goal.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, George. This was fascinating. A great look into Hard Rock and Pure and Win and casinos and gaming, but you added a ton of value here, and it was absolutely a pleasure having you and chatting more. So thank you so much, George.
Yeah, thank you, Kip. It was great talking to you. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks.